Did somebody say? I don't hear anything, but if you put one on and say, oh.
Something. coverage of their beach it goes. I mean,
When are y'all taking off to the conference? Yeah, I think that's when we're leaving. I think that's when we're leaving.
Got a crazy travel schedule for Thanksgiving.
Mhm. You going to tech?
Yeah, I'm gonna look on Saturday. And my
Mhm.
daughter gets her class ring on Sunday, and
Mhm.
there's a ceremony for that. So I'm gonna be coming in late Sunday and then trying to go to Dallas.
Mhm.
That's fine. It's a good meeting, it's good. The evening's good.
Mhm.
Be good to get up.
So I'm gonna take off today.
Yeah.
Go
Going home.
Yeah, I'm gonna go home. I got some things down there I'm gonna do. Spend Thanksgiving probably at Mead's house. And then for Thursday night, I gotta drive back because we have a, we have a playoff game in Georgetown,
Oh.
playing College Station. We have them at, in Waco.
Oh, no.
So we have them Friday. It's a 6 o'clock kickoff, so I gotta get back early.
Morning, everyone. This meeting is called to order. Mr. Chilman, has anyone signed up for public comment?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Ms. Miller.
Good morning, sir.
We have no cases to reconsider under agenda item 3. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, let's consider tax liability cases under agenda item 4. We have one tax case on docket 47.
Yes, sir. It's case number TD 22 017 0622. Commissioner Demerson,
Agree with staff recommendation.
Commissioner Alvarez.
I agree with staff's recommendation.
And Mr. Chairman,
Agree with staff recommendation.
thank you.
So no fair housing cases under agenda item 5.
Correct.
Under agenda item 6, we have no wage claim cases on docket 47 pulled for additional discussion.
That's correct. None pulled, but you should have just received the wage claim short form dissent list for docket 47.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining wage claim cases on docket 47.
I second the motion, except for those cases of which I'm dissenting as reflected on the wage claim short form dissent list for docket 47.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting as reflected in the wage claim short form dissent list for docket 47.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Thank you.
Let's move to agenda item 7, consideration of unemployment insurance cases on docket 47. Please proceed when you're ready.
Case number 2701763. Commissioner Alvarez,
The commission previously voted to deem the claimant's petition to reopen timely. On the good cause issue, I do not agree with staff's recommendation. The claimant missed the AT1 hearing because he was out of the country working and did not receive the notice of telephone hearing. TWC policy is to encourage reemployment without sacrificing one's right to engage in a UI appeal process. Timely petition to reopen, good cause for the non-appearance at AT1, resubmit on merits.
We should modify the appeal tribunal decision. We previously voted on the R16 petition to reopen the issue. Concerning good cause, although the claimant was timely informed about the time and the date of the AT hearing, the claimant failed to register or call in for the hearing. Since the claimant failed to show that he was prevented from appearing at the AT1 hearing due to circumstances beyond his control, the claimant did not establish good cause. Concerning the job separation, the claimant quit based on the fear of contracting COVID-19. Since the claimant was not advised by a doctor to quit, and because he resigned solely because of his fear of contracting COVID-19, the claimant did not establish good cause connected with the work to quit. Hence, we should modify the AT decision. Timely R16 petition to reopen. Claimant did not establish good cause for missing the AT1 hearing. Voluntary leaving, no chargeback.
Reverse the AT, timely petition to reopen. Claimant established good cause for AT1, resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
case number 2925418. Commissioner Demerson.
The AT decision is not supportable. As with other similar cases this year, we have held that lack of proper information can be just as misleading to a party as improper information that is given to a party. In this case, the NMPC was mailed during the period that TWC claimants and employers were all overwhelmed by the pandemic, and the employer was not told on the notice of maximum potential chargeback that it could have dealt with its claim volume problem by simply sending TWC a spreadsheet of all the MPCs that it needed to protest. That is certainly an option that was available during the pandemic, and it should have been mentioned on the MPC to help employers deal with the unprecedented situation. If the employer had had the proper information, it could have responded to the chargeback notice on time. Regarding the chargeback issue, the employer gave testimony on the merits of the work separation, so that would be available for review. Accordingly, we should reverse the AT decision on the timeliness issue. The employer filed a timely response to the chargeback notice and then resubmit the case on the chargeback issue.
The AT decision is correct. The employer provided a response to the notice of maximum potential chargeback after the deadline. And they have offered no explanation for the late response. From the AT, late protest to notice of maximum potential chargeback.
Reverse the AT, timely response to the NMPC, resubmit.
We will resubmit this case.
Case number 3019014, Commissioner Alvarez.
The decision is not supportable. The employer discharged the claimant for refusing to agree to a change to his compensation agreement. The employer eliminated the bonus that had been paid quarterly based on a set scale quota and instead implemented a commission that would only have provided payment if the employer had sales increase from the prior year. The claimant attempted to ask the employer how sales were expected to increase, but the employer refused to answer and told him to get out while using an expletive. As the employer was changing the compensation agreement and refused to provide information that the claimant could have used to determine if his pay would be decreased, the claimant was justified in not signing the agreement. It is irrelevant that under the new agreement, he would have earned more than he had in the previous year, as he would not have known that at the time of separation. Additionally, there is no evidence as to how much the claimant would have earned under the prior agreement for the same period. Reverse AT, no misconduct, chargeback void, adequate response.
We should modify the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant quit due to dissatisfaction with the employer's new compensation structure. Although the claimant suggested that the change in compensation agreement would reduce his pay, the claimant failed to provide evidence to quantify his assertion. In addition, the employer provided testimony that the claimant's compensation was set to improve under the new agreement. Since the claimant quit based on the mere belief that his pay could be reduced under the employer's new compensation plan, the claimant did not establish good cause connected with the work to quit. As such, we should modify the AT decision, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, sever adequate employer response.
Modify the AT, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, sever adequate response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Alvarez.
Case number 3039641, Commissioner Alvarez.
The decision is not correct. We have previously ruled that the claimant had good cause for missing the AT1 hearing. The record shows he was fired for reasons other than misconduct. The claimant was discharged for joking about what he would do if anyone tried to take his canine partner. Statements and evidence show that the other officers present took it as a joke. The officer who originally reported his comments apparently didn't find them to be a real threat because he waited over 5 hours to report it. Other officers who provided reports stated they only did so after being instructed to do so. The nature of the claimant's discharge was adjudicated before SOA, and he was found to have not violated any order or criminal offense, and his comments were deemed not to constitute insubordination. The claimant did not engage in misconduct. Reverse AT, good cause, no misconduct, bill reimburse an employer, void AR.
We should modify the appeal tribunal decision. On a prior docket, we voted on the good cause issue. Regarding the merits, the claimant admitted that he made a statement to fellow officers in which he joked about shooting anyone who attempted to take his canine. A coworker who heard the statement reported it to the employer because he could not fully discount the seriousness of the threat. The State Office of Administrative Hearing changed the claimant's discharge from dishonorable to a general discharge based on the finding that the claimant did not engage in criminal conduct, insubordination, or untruthfulness. However, the SOA did not rule on whether the claimant violated the employer's policy or code of conduct. The claimant had been previously warned and knew that his comments were at best inappropriate. By making the threatening remarks after prior warnings, the claimant mismanaged his position of employment. We should modify the AT decision. The claimant had good cause for his non-appearance, misconduct, reimbursing employer not billed, sever the adequate response issue.
Reverse the AT, claim established good cause for AT1, no misconduct, bill reimbursing employer, void adequate response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Demerson.
Case number 3053999. Commissioner Dimerson,
The AT decision is not supportable, as with appeal number 292-5418 on this docket, we have held that lack of proper information can be just as misleading to a party as improper information that is given to a party. In this case, the NMPC was mailed during the period that TWC claimants and employers were all overwhelmed by the pandemic, and the employer was not told on the notice of maximum potential chargeback that it could have dealt with its claim volume problem by simply sending TWC a spreadsheet of all of the NMPCs that it needed to protest. That is certainly an option that was available during the pandemic, and it should have been mentioned on the NMPC to help employers deal with the unprecedented situation. If the employer had had the proper information, it could have responded to the chargeback notice on time. Regarding the chargeback issue, the employer gave testimony on the merits of the work separation, so that would be available for review. Accordingly, we should reverse the AT decision on the timeliness issue. The employer filed a timely response to the chargeback notice and then resubmit the case on the chargeback issue.
The employer timely received the notice of maximum potential chargeback. The employer's protest was late. As there is no good cause exception to the timeliness rule, the AT decision should be affirmed. Late employer protest chargeback.
Reverse the AT, timely response to the NMPC, resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
case number 3066726. Commissioner Dimerson,
The AT decision is not supportable. In several similar appeals this year, we have held that lack of proper information can be just as misleading to a party as improper information that is given to a party. In this case as well, the NMPC was mailed during the period that TWC claimants and employers were all overwhelmed by the pandemic, and the employer was not told on the notice of maximum potential chargeback that it could have dealt with its claim volume problem by simply sending TWC a spreadsheet of all of the NMPCs that it needed to protest. That's again, certainly an option that was available during the pandemic, and it should have been mentioned on the NMPC to help employers deal with the unprecedented situation. If the employer had the proper information, it could have responded to the chargeback notice on time. It appears that the AT did not take testimony on the merits of the chargeback issue. Accordingly, we should reverse the AT decision on the timeliness issue. The employer filed a timely response to the chargeback notice and then remand the case to the appeal tribunal on the chargeback issue.
The AT decision is correct. The employer provided a response to the notice of maximum potential chargeback after the deadline, and the offered explanation for the late response that they did not have time to respond to all the notices they received. It is not basis under TWC rules for the protest to be deemed timely. After the AT, late protest to the affirm the AT, late protest to the notice of maximum potential chargeback.
Reverse the AT, timely response to the NMPC, remand.
We will remand the case.
case number 3074986. Commissioner Alvarez,
The claimant timely registered for the rehearing, but the hearing officer's calls went to voicemail. Since the claimant made a good faith effort to participate in the rehearing by properly registering for the hearing, this case should be rescheduled for another rehearing.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. Although the claimant alleged that he apprised the employer with the doctor's note about his absences, the record shows that the claimant provided the employer with correspondence which were at times incomplete and unopenable. In addition, though the claimant was advised about the proper personnel for reporting absences, the claimant did not follow the employer's instruction. Since the claimant failed to adequately inform the employer about his medical condition during his extended period of absence, the claimant's conduct was mismanagement of his position of employment and was misconduct connected with the work. Hence, we should affirm the AT decision. Misconduct, no chargeback. In the alternative, if my fellow commissioners believe that the claimant should be qualified for benefits because the separation resulted from the claimant's medically verified illness, the employer's account should remain protected from charge under a medical separation analysis. Modify the AT decision, no misconduct, no chargeback by MBI.
Affirm the AT, misconduct, no chargeback.
I would agree with Commissioner Demerson on the MBI.
And the chair, I'm going to agree with the chairman.
The majority vote is misconduct, no chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Thank you, sir.
Case number 30749. Oh, excuse me. 3076095, Commissioner Alvarez.
The AT decision should be reversed. The claimant was fired for failing to report an incident in the trucks that she was driving. While driving a truck route, some of the tires went off the pavement, causing the truck to shake and the onboard camera to activate. The claimant corrected course without any issues. There was no damage to the vehicle or other property, and law enforcement was not involved. Dispatch called the claimant while she was on her route to ask if she had had an accident. The claimant responded that she had not had an accident, and she called the employer after her route about what had happened. The claimant testified that she did not think it was serious enough to warrant immediate reporting under the employer's policy. And if she had known that she was required to report it, she would have. There was no policy provided that explained under what circumstances an employee must report an incident to the employer, absent a policy that provided reasonably clear guidance what to immediately report to the employer. The employer has not established misconduct by the claimant. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback, void, adequate response.
We should modify the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant ran off the road in her company vehicle. While she may dispute the severity of the incident and may not characterize it as an accident, she was required to report. Her dispatcher called her and specifically instructed her to report the incident. However, the claimant chose not to follow instructions and delayed reporting the incident to the employer as required by policy. By failing to follow the dispatcher's instructions to report the incident, the claimant mismanaged her position of employment. We should modify the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, sever the adequate response issue.
Reverse the 18, no misconduct, chargeback, void, adequate response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Demerson.
Case number 3080511, Commissioner Demerson.
The appeal tribunal decision should be modified. I do not contest the good cause issue. As to the job separation, the claimant stated she was aware of the employer's zero tolerance policy regarding making racial statements. Nonetheless, the claimant was fired for making a comment that violated the policy. While the claimant generally denied any wrongdoing, the employer presented two witness statements that should be given greater weight due to their consistency and detailed recounting of the final incident. As such, the claimant mismanaged her position of employment and was discharged for work-connected misconduct. We should therefore modify the AT decision. The claimant had good cause for her non-appearance, misconduct, no chargeback, sever adequate response.
The decision is not correct. The claimant has provided uncontradicted testimony that she did not receive the notice for the first hearing. The claimant regularly checks her mail. The claimant has established good cause regarding the job separation. The claimant was discharged 2 weeks shy of her 401k vesting and while on medical light duty restrictions because of an alleged comments. The claimant has denied making the comments under oath. The employer has failed to provide firsthand testimony from any individual who witnessed the alleged comments. Additionally, the individuals who originally reported the comments only did so over a week later, and their statements differ as to what she said. Further, one of the individuals has provided a statement that they did so because she was instructed to do so by management. The claimant has provided a statement from other individuals who witnessed the employer instructing the individuals to write the statements. The employer has not established misconduct. Reverse AT, good cause, no misconduct, chargeback, void, adequate response.
Reverse the AT, claim established good cause for AT1, no misconduct, chargeback, void, adequate response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Demerson.
Case number 3081914, Commissioner Demerson.
We should reverse the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant received various warnings for his attitude at the employer's workplace. The claimant was terminated when he refused to wait a table in violation of the employer's reasonable request. The claimant testified that he was aware of the consequences for acting up, but thereafter resorted to walking out in response to the employer's request. Since the claimant refused to work and thereafter abandoned his shift in violation of the employer's reasonable request, his conduct was mismanagement of his position of employment. and was misconduct connected with the work. Hence, we should reverse the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response. In the alternative, we should modify the appeal tribunal decision. Since the available record shows that the claimant's separation arose from the residual effects of his medically verifiable illness, we should modify the AT decision, no misconduct, no chargeback, MVI.
Ms. Miller, I would agree with no misconduct, no chargeback, MVI.
Short form dissent.
And the majority vote is no misconduct, no chargeback, MVI, and I have your short form dissent.
Thank you.
Case number 3089783, Commissioner Dimerson,
The AT decision is not supportable. As a general matter, we should strive to keep decisions on appeals as consistent as possible within the law. On docket 45, we had 3 similar cases involving the same employer in a similar situation with chargeback notices being sent out during the March and April 2020 timeframe. On all 3 cases, the employer's late protest was considered timely, since the notices were sent out during a timeframe in which TWC systems were overwhelmed and the employer may have been misled by agency statements that pandemic-related claims would not result in chargebacks. The only difference between those three cases and this one is the fact that the NMPC was mailed on May 27, 2020. I've made my position clear on previous cases that the so-called technical difficulty period recognized by the agency is unrealistically and unduly short and should be considered to have lasted through the end of 2020. Accordingly, we should reverse the AT decision and hold the employer's protest timely and resubmit the case on the merits of the chargeback issue.
The AT decision is correct. The employer provided a response to the notice of maximum potential chargeback about 1.5 years after the deadline. The reason they offered for the late response, they did believe that they believe that this was a COVID-related claim is not credible since the claimant was separated in 2019, well before the pandemic. The response to the protest thereafter, therefore, is late. Affirm the AT late protest to the notice of maximum potential chargeback.
Reverse the AT, timely response to the NMPC, resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
case number 3125003, Commissioner Dimerson,
We should modify the appeal tribunal decision. First, I agree that the employer filed a timely appeal. Regarding the job separation, months before the governor's executive order, the employer implemented a vaccine requirement which allowed for the claimant to submit a medical or religious exemption. However, the claimant submitted neither. Furthermore, the employer had a general vaccine policy requiring certain vaccines, including those recommended by the CDC, which the claimant had previously complied with during her years of employment. By choosing to not submit an exemption and not comply with the employer's home health care vaccine policy, the claimant mismanaged her position of employment. We should modify the health AT decision. The employer filed a timely appeal. Misconduct, reimbursing employer not billed, adequate employer response.
The AT decision should be modified. I agree that the employer filed a timely appeal. The employer substantially changed the hiring agreement when the employer mandated employees receive the COVID-19 vaccine. The claimant never agreed to receive the COVID-19 vaccine, and the employer failed to offer a personal conscience exemption. The claimant had good cause to delay receiving the vaccine until she was able to speak to a specialist about the effects of the vaccine on a newly diagnosed medical condition. As such, the claimant was discharged for reasons other than misconduct connected with the work. The AT decision should be modified. Timely employer appeal, no misconduct, bill reimbursing employer.
Modify the AT, timely employer appeal, misconduct, reimbursing employer not billed, adequate employer response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Alvarez.
case number 3133749, Commissioner Dimerson,
The AT decision is not supportable. The employer gave clear, consistent, and credible testimony that it did not receive the chargeback notice. Moreover, the chargeback notice was mailed during April 2020, exactly when TWC and postal systems were becoming more and more overwhelmed. The testimony about what the correct address for the employer is beside the point. TWC used a legally correct address. The employer's testimony about non-receipt is sufficient to qualify for the timeliness exception under Rule 32. If TWC did not use the correct address, another Rule 32 exception would apply. Either way, and in view of the technical difficulties experienced by TWC during the height of the pandemic, the employer's protest should be considered timely. Accordingly, we should reverse the AT decision. The employer filed a timely protest, resubmit the case on the merits of the chargeback issue.
The AT decision is correct. The employer provided a response to the notice of maximum potential chargeback about a year and a half after the deadline. The employer stated that they never received the notice. However, the evidence establishes that the notice was mailed to the correct address in commission records. The employer failed to maintain a correct mailing address with the commission after they moved to a new address. Affirm the AT late protest to the notice of maximum potential chargeback.
Reverse the AT, timely response to the NMPC resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
Case number 3166142, Commissioner Dimerson.
The appeal tribunal decision should be modified. The claimant was discharged for not complying with the employer's policy. The separation in this case took place prior to the governor's executive order dated October 11, 2021. The employer's policy was reasonable. Indeed, the employer was a medical facility and the employer stated that the claimant worked with patients. Moreover, the employer's policy provided for exemptions, but the claimant never submitted one. The employer stated that hundreds of exemptions had been approved. Nonetheless, the claimant never sought medical advice regarding her health issue and never submitted an exemption. Accordingly, the equivalent of misconduct was established. We should therefore modify the AT decision. Misconduct, reimbursing employer not billed, valid claim, adequate employer response.
The decision is supportable. The claimant was discharged because she failed to comply with the employer's COVID-19 vaccine mandate. Although the employer allowed some exemptions, they did not offer exemptions for reasons of personal conscience. The claimant had previously been required to get the COVID-19 vaccine as a condition of employment. The employer has not established misconduct. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, bill employer, valid claim.
Modify the AT, valid claim, misconduct, reimbursing employer not billed, adequate employer response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Alvarez.
Case number 3191027, Commissioner Alvarez.
The decision is not supportable. The claimant was discharged because the employer did not like the title of a book the claimant purchased as a gift. The employer had not received any complaints about the gift. Purchasing gifts was part of the claimant's job. The claimant was not aware his purchase could have resulted in discharge, and he had received no prior warnings. The fact that he submitted a receipt for reimbursement of a gift demonstrates he was not aware his purchase could lead to discharge. The employer has not provided a written policy which the claimant's actions violated. Since the claimant was unaware his actions could lead to discharge, he did not commit misconduct connected with the work. Reverse AT, no misconduct.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. The employer had a zero tolerance policy regarding profanity. By purchasing a book with profanity in the title and giving it to a professional partner on behalf of the employer, the claimant violated policy and risked harm to the employer's reputation in the community. Thus, the claimant mismanaged his position of employment, and we should affirm the AT decision, misconduct.
Reverse AT, no misconduct.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Dimerson.
Thank you.
Case number 3213560, Commissioner Dimerson.
We should modify the appeal tribunal decision. Both parties testified that the job separation resulted from the lack of work caused by the pandemic. In January 2021, the pandemic was still affecting many business sectors as vaccines were just being introduced and were not widely available to the general public. Since the job separation resulted from the COVID-19 natural disaster, the claimant should be qualified for benefits and the employer's account should be protected from charge. We should modify the AT decision. No misconduct, no chargeback, disaster.
Ms. Miller, I would agree with Commissioner Demerson. No misconduct, no chargeback, disaster.
Agreed.
Thank you. We have a unanimous decision.
Case number 3226271, Commissioner Alvarez.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant was discharged for accepting a counterfeit bill. The claimant tested the bill with the marker as instructed, and it came out authentic. The employer claims that he could tell the bill was fake upon visual inspection, but did not say how. And the photographic evidence he provided did not show it was fake. He claims that it was a common sense to carefully inspect the bill, but he provided no information as to what the claimant should have looked for or what he failed to observe. The employer has not provided sufficient evidence to establish misconduct. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback, void adequate response.
We should modify the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant accepted a counterfeit $100 bill because he did not follow the employer's protocol regarding confirmation of such currency. In addition to using the test marker, the claimant was supposed to perform a careful visual inspection. The claimant admitted that he failed to closely examine the bill because he relied on the marker's results. Thus, because the claimant did not follow the required procedures for acceptance of large currency denominations while on a final warning, the claimant mismanaged his position of employment. We should modify the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, sever the adequate response issue.
Modify the AT, misconduct, no chargeback, sever adequate response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Alvarez.
Case number 3231012, Commissioner Demerson.
We should modify the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant was separated when she failed to return to work after a scheduled medical appointment. Since the record reflects that the appointment concerned the claimant's pregnancy, the employer's account should be protected from charge in accordance with Commission President Appeal Number 87-02634-10-022588. Hence, we should modify the appeal tribunal decision, no misconduct, no chargeback, MBI.
Ms. Miller, I would agree with Commissioner Demerson.
Agreed.
Thank you. We have a unanimous decision.
Case number 3254845, Commissioner Demerson.
We should reverse the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant was discharged after two coworkers complained that the claimant engaged in sexually harassing behavior. The employer submitted the results of its investigation for the hearing. These included a signed witness statement from one of the victims victims to the harassment, in addition to multiple notes from the vice president and HR manager who spoke to all parties involved. While the claimant generally denied wrongdoing, the investigation revealed that he admitted to the vice president having made inappropriate comments of a sexual nature during lunch with one of the claimants. Because the weight of the credible evidence established that the claimant engaged in sexually harassing behavior in violation of the employer's policy, the employer met its burden of proving the claimant mismanaged his position of employment. We should reverse the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
The AT decision is supportable. The employer only provided secondhand hearsay testimony to accuse the claimant of harassing coworkers. The claimant denied wrongdoing under oath. The claimant's firsthand denial of wrongdoing outweighs the employer's hearsay allegations. The employer has failed to provide sufficient evidence of misconduct by the claimant. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Reverse the AT, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Alvarez. And that was the last unemployment insurance case pulled for additional discussion on docket 47. You should have received the UI short form dissent list already.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 47, except for those cases on which I am dissenting, as reflected on the UI short form dissent list for docket 47.
I second the motion, except for those cases of which I'm dissenting as reflected on the UI short forms of dissent list for docket 47.
Concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting is reflected in the UI short form dissent list for docket 47.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Thank you.
Thank you. there any other order of business come before the commission?
Not here, sir.
None.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn, and we're adjourned.
Thank you, guys. Same to you guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys.